My name is Hilary Hawk, and I will be your co-host along with Sharon Hostet. Great to see you, Sharon.
Great seeing you, Hilary.
Also with us tonight, but behind the screens, our very own tech wizard is Misty. Hi, Misty.
Hi, glad to be here.
Glad you are too. And our featured author tonight is renowned storyteller and author Larry Schardt. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Hilary. Thank you, everybody. Rock and roll. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Some of you may have seen our posts today that Larry hoped to play some music to start us off this evening, but we weren't able to secure the right permissions in time. So perhaps Larry can share some song suggestions and we can listen to them in our own time later this evening. If you have any questions for Larry, please post them in the comments segment below the video feed. So tonight,
this is the weirdest thing because I have no idea who's there. I can't see anybody. I don't think I've ever talked like this before. It's going to be fun. It's good. But the song I was going to play is Ripple, which is a great song. It's done by Play for Change. Actually, it's originally done by the Grateful Dead, but Play for Change does it, Playing for Change. And I have permission to use it in my presentations, but I don't have permission to broadcast it over the net. And I was hoping to get that permission, but it didn't come through in time. So just pretend you listen to a phenomenal song and rock and roll. Okay, thank you for that brief little thing there. Happiness Hill. Okay,
good. All right. So I happen to know that Larry grew up in Pittsburgh. And that is a city that is launching a brand new literary event that I'm sure will be of interest to our viewers. It is the Greater Pittsburgh Book Festival, and it's scheduled to kick off in 2021. The festival will celebrate Pittsburgh's vibrant literary history and showcase this modern city's vital role on the national and international literary stage. And if you want to know anything at all about this and all book events, regional authors, poetry readings, anything to do with books related to Pittsburgh and the surrounding region, please be sure to follow Litsburg, the online destination for writers, publishing professionals and readers who make Pittsburgh one of the world's most literary cities. And we are grateful to Litsburg for posting information about our virtual author series each week. And we never tire of thanking the Community Foundation for the Alleghenies and Somerset Trust Company for their support since we launched in 2018. As always, we encourage you to support your local libraries who have faced increased expenses and fewer opportunities to host their regular fundraisers this year. The links to donate to the Festival of Books County Libraries are on our homepage at www.festivalofbooks.org. And now I shall hand you over to Sharon, who will formally introduce tonight's author.
Thank you, Hilary. Dr. Larry Schardt, a renowned storyteller, believes that stories can change the world. He has toured the United States, encouraging people to believe in themselves and giving them hope for the future, motivating students, executives, workers, and seniors on how to live the life of their dreams. Through the power of story in his uplifting and motivational Success That Rocks presentations, Dr. Schardt illustrates that no matter how terrible your start, there is light at the end of your tunnel. Larry knows that you have the ability to make your life rock, and as a result, rock the lives of those you come in contact with. For the past 28 years, Larry has inspired his students at Penn State in his natural resources classes. Larry loves creating and putting together stories while walking in the woods. He also helps writers as a regular presenter at writers' conferences and coordinates mindful writers' retreats. His stories have won awards in memoir, nonfiction, and inspirational categories. Although he doesn't consider himself a sports writer, his latest best-selling book, James Conner, Legends of a Football Hero, is one of the 24 best sports biography books of all time, according to Book Authority. He has stories in Chicken Soup for the Soul books, Find Your Happiness, The Power of Gratitude, and The Best Advice I've Ever Heard. He is currently working on Running Away to Freedom, a story about running away from home at 15 to escape violence, alcohol, and rage. For over 5 years, Larry has been writing a daily inspirational and positive Facebook blog to entertain, celebrate, share, and pay forward the positive in life. Larry believes everyone should start their day on a positive note. His passion for people, positive spirit, and zest for life shines through. From his peace sign to his smile to his familiar rock and roll, Larry does his best to plant seeds of love and happiness in all he does. The title of his presentation tonight is Live Your Passion, Begin with Baby Steps. Larry, do you have any good news to share with us?
Yeah, I have some great news. Thank you for asking. I wrote a story in a series of my Facebook posts about running away from home. And because of the phenomenal and kind encouragement of so many people who messaged me and wrote to me, I decided to make that into a book, and I've been working on it. I have the blessing to be working with a book shepherd on making that into a reality. So, and the cool thing is, man, when I was writing every single day on those stories, I was 15 again, and I was in Ocean City, and I was experiencing all the cool things I did, where there's something powerful about writing that just puts you right back there. So good. So thank you for asking. That's a good news. So you're muted. Do I go from here? Do I start my presentation? All right, good. We are ready to talk.
First, I forgot I was muted, so go right ahead. Yeah, and congratulations on your good news too.
Thank you, Happiness Hill. Let's see if we can get this thing rocking here. My presentation disappeared. Uh-oh. I hope you're all okay with me with this. This is crazy. All right. You see that, everybody? Are we there? You don't see anything? You don't see anything. Uh-oh, it says my screen is sharing.
Larry, we can see your Zoom page.
What does that mean?
Did you maybe close out a Keynote by accident?
No, I just reopened it just in case. I'm in Keynote. Oh, I'm sorry about this. There's always some kind of glitch in life. We thought we had this worked out perfectly. Oh my gosh, thank you for your patience here. Okay.
Maybe we could play the music. We could put the music back on.
Yeah. I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to go back into screen share. I'm going to go to this. Share. Are we there? Are you seeing anything?
Yes.
Okay, now let's hope that this. You see the big? Has it got big? Okay.
It's big. It's good.
Good. Is it advancing? Did it advance? Okay, good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your smiles, and hopefully you're smiling. I can't see, but hope you're all good. So we're talking to a screen, but we're going to make this thing rock. All right. I'm going to share with you ways to live your passion, especially it's mainly focused on writing, but this also pertains to all of life because we all need to live our passion. We need to live our dreams. We need to live all that's good. So it begins with baby steps. So let me ask you, if I saw a live audience out there, I would ask, how many of you are aspiring writers? Go ahead and raise your hands, just get involved. Let me know if you're there. And okay. Then I say, if you write, you are a writer. So you're not an aspiring writer. You are a writer. You're officially a writer. Anybody who writes is a writer, including readers who write. Burn that into your brain. I'm a writer. Make sure you introduce yourself as a writer. You make sure that you live life as a writer. Focus on the fact that you are a writer. Why are you a writer? Because why are we writers? Because we have to be writers, man. It's in our genes to be writers. We got to get our passion out on the page. We were born to be writers. It's something we live with. It's something we love to do. Every writer I know loves to write, and many readers who love to write. I mean, it's just a passion that we all share. And take your passion and make it happen and live your life of passion. Now, if you know the song from Flashdance, take your passion and make it happen, play that in your head a little bit there too. We have the ability as writers to change the world. So we want to definitely be the best possible writers we can be. Amazing, 80 to 90% of people want to write a book. As a matter of fact, I went to a writer's conference one time and I met a woman who was a traveling nurse who had never read a book in her life, by the way. And she took 6 months off to write a book. Well, that didn't work. So, but 80 to 90% of people want to write a book. And interestingly, only 58 to 72% of people have read a book this past year, which blows my mind. But anyway, so I want to take the opportunity to thank the Allegheny Festival of Books folks for being so kind and having me on and asking me to do this presentation and connect with all of you. And thank all of you for inviting me into your homes, although I can't see you. I hope you're out there somewhere. But welcome to my den, where it's not where I usually do too many presentations, but welcome. Okay, thank you for letting me be here. Okay, so let's talk about the writing journey. The 6 most important things about writing. Does anybody know the 6 most important things about writing? Since I can't hear you, I will assume that I'm going to tell you. And the 6 most important things about writing are read, 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 and write, write, write. You can't edit a blank page. You have to write. You have to read. You have to learn from other authors. There are so many good authors. With every book we read as readers, we learn how to be better readers and writers. So key. Okay, read. There we do. Spend our days reading. Spend as much time. And I would add, read books, because certainly we read magazine articles, we read stuff online, but it doesn't get us totally. I mean, it's short stories do certainly, but books get us totally involved. So do good, well-written short stories, but that's what I'm talking about. Reading good stories. Books are great. I started my reading journey with The Hobbit. I went to a church bazaar with my mom years ago in Mount Lebanon at St. Paul's Episcopal Church. They had a copy of The Hobbit and all these books that they were selling for 10 cents. I bought it and I went outside and sat on the steps and waited for my mom and just immediately got into that book, fell in love with Middle-earth, fell in love with The Hobbit, went on to read the whole series several times, and just love of I had to read stuff for school before that, but I just didn't have that love. So anyway, The Hobbit was where I began my journey. That's my reading journey. My writing journey began because I was always in love. Always in love. By the way, that's me in the dark top there. That was Barb next to me there. We had hitchhiked from Bradford up to Canada. We got our picture taken with that Canada bus in the background. But that was one of the things. When I was growing up, I was always in love, and I was always writing poems about love and stories about love and the wonders of love and the wonders of all that beautiful stuff. So that's where my journey began. I kept notebooks of poems. I kept notebooks of short stories. They were probably all very terrible. Unfortunately, on the road of life, I lost a lot of that stuff. But anyway, that's where I got my start. Then I started to keep a diary. And boy, I tell you, when you keep a diary, you have the ability to reach into your soul and your heart and put your thoughts on page. You can really think complete thoughts if you write them down. Unfortunately, I lost my diaries, but when I did go back to my diaries, I could read what I wrote on that particular day, and I knew the exact feelings that I had when I wrote that. I mean, holy heavens, I relived. It was really great. A diary is just a great thing to get your feelings out on the page. Then I really got into the self-help genre. I listened to books on tape. I read a lot of books, How to Stop Worrying, Start Living, Dale Carnegie books, Dennis Waitley books, and I really got into that field. And I thought, man, my goodness, this stuff makes me feel great. When I go to work every morning and I'm listening to these tapes on my way to work, I'm feeling great the whole way through the day. And because I'm feeling great, I get to spread that greatness out to other people. And it's just a whole fun thing. And I thought, you know, I'd love to be able to share this somehow with people. So I wanted to get the good out in the world, which is kind of, which is really at the heart of why I write my daily Facebook posts. But people started hiring me as a speaker and asking me to give people tips on how to enjoy life, and which was a very nice compliment. So I started going out doing presentations. It used to be called The Magic in Every Moment, but I changed it to Success That Rocks because that's kind of more me. Magic in Every Moment is great too, but Success That Rocks is who I am, and the message I try to get out there, the rocking message. I was on tour with the congressman here, speaking to a group of students. And so I thought, I want to take all this stuff and put it into a book. So for years, and those of you who know me know, for years I've been writing. It was The Magic in Every Moment, and I changed it to Success That Rocks. But when you're writing a book, it can be an overwhelming task. There's so much research, so many stories, so much good stuff that it gets overwhelming. So that's where I decided to start breaking it down into baby steps. So I did say that there were 6 critical things about writing, but actually, in my opinion, there are 9. Of course, we have read, and write. But we also have improve. Because if we continue to write at the level that we've always written, then we don't know if we're going to improve, and we don't necessarily improve. So these baby steps are, how can I improve with baby steps? One of the first things I did was I joined writing groups, including Penn Writers, Pennsylvania Writers, and what an experience that was to just become a member of a community of like-minded writers. Oh my gosh, and these people rock, and they're so inspiring, and they're my mentors in so many ways, and what a great thing. So I joined that, and I also joined West Virginia Writers, another great group of people, and I joined Romance Writers of America, and I belong to many more organizations, but those are just 3 I wanted to throw out there. But becoming a member of the writing community by osmosis, it actually kind of filters down, and you get inspired by all these really phenomenal writers out there. So then I started going to writers conferences where you actually meet the people face to face. This is at the West Virginia Writers Conference. This was a panel discussion. This is at one of the Penn Writers Conferences. This is at one of our lunches at the Eden Resort in Lancaster. And that camaraderie, just hanging out with all these phenomenal people and discussing ideas. And I have found the conferences, they're so uplifting because people talk about positive stuff. It's all about the positive in life. And it's amazing just that positive spirit and how that rubs off on you. So this, again, is a luncheon. And then there are great speakers at the writing conferences. This is our buddy Wendy, who was our keynote speaker back in Eden a few years ago, and she rocked us with her amazing presentation. And there are workshops at our writers conferences. Every writers conference you go to is several days long, and there are workshops to help you improve your craft. It's all about improving your craft. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So these are those steps. I'm stepping along, trying to get to be a better writer by knowing the writing community, doing workshops. Then I started to go to storytelling events. And I went down through Virginia and North Carolina and saw these amazing storytellers. Oh my gosh, this guy, Orville Hicks, I saw him in a general store down there, and they do this for free. These guys get paid big bucks because they're so motivating and they're such good storytellers. But storytelling bleeds over into writing. Then I got involved with the Mindful Writers Retreats. These retreats are amazing, where we all get together. We don't talk except at mealtime and in the evening. We don't talk, but that collective spirit is just, it's amazing what you can get done in a week. We have week-long writers workshops, or excuse me, retreats, and we have weekend-long readers retreats. And then back there in the very back with the little black ponytail, that's Kathy, and we're the co-coordinators of this. She actually started these things, and she has allowed me to work with her, and they have been great. I think we've had 15 now, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, this is one of our group back in 2017. Then I started to take classes. One of the best online teachers that I found, there are great ones out there, is Margie Lawson. If you want to get better at writing, take a Margie Lawson class. Go to Margie Lawson, Google Margie Lawson, and she's great. One of the great things about her was that she does not hold back. If your writing stinks, she'll let you know it. Not in a nice way, but man, she doesn't hold back. So as a writer, that's one of the things, we need to develop a thick skin. We might think we've written the best thing since Hamlet, and somebody else will look at it and just rip into it. So I suggest taking a course from Margie Lawson. She is a phenomenal teacher. And I just recently found another really awesome teacher, Abby Emmons, a young woman. She wrote this book, an excellent book, but she's actually on YouTube. She teaches for free. She puts out these amazing videos on YouTube, and I just highly recommend her. And amazingly, her and Margie are both psychologists. So they integrate psychology into writing, which is really what we want to do as writers. It's a great thing. So the first time I took a Margie Lawson class was back in 2011, in the spring of 2011. And as a part of her class, you have to have an editing partner. And I had this editing partner from Connecticut. Her name was Sharon Struth. And Sharon, through our editing back and forth and emailing, Sharon said, you ought to submit a story to Chicken Soup for the Soul. I thought, that's a great idea. So interestingly, I have to interject here. I have that 134 down in that corner because Chicken Soup for the Soul was rejected by 134 publishers until it got finally accepted for publishing. Chicken Soup for the Soul has sold 500 million copies worldwide, which is probably the best-selling books. It has to be the best-selling book series in the history of the world. And 134 publishers turned them down. So just remember, if you're getting turned down, keep going, man, keep going, keep going. So I looked on their website and found out that they were putting out a volume called Find Your Happiness. It was supposed to come out May 15, 2011. I started working on that story probably in March, editing, re-editing, re-editing, and re-editing. And I think I found the perfect story for finding my happiness. Back in 1982, it happened in 1982 and 83, I got my first job as a district conservationist in Mifflin County, Pennsylvania. I left the city, went to the country. I got here in October, fell in love with the county, fell in love with the people, fell in love with the rural community. I was used to living in a city. I came here and I got my first supervisory position. I was the district conservationist of Mifflin County. So I decided I wanted to be the best district conservationist in the history of the world. So I started doing jobs, and then I started doing more jobs and more jobs and more jobs. I studied conservation in the evening. I went home. I spent weekends in the office. I spent my nights doing the paperwork that I was in the field during the day. I spent my nights doing paperwork. And finally, one thing after another, I just got so overwhelmed I couldn't keep up. I was working weekends. I couldn't keep up with anything. So in June, after being a district conservationist for what, 8-9 months, I decided I better call my boss and tell him what a bad job I'm doing. And he was in State College. I'm in Lewistown, 30 miles away. And I told him I needed to meet with him. And I went up to his office, and the whole way up there, I was just dreading seeing him. And I got up there, and his name was George Collar. I said, George, I failed. He said, what do you mean you failed? I said, I just can't keep up. I am working around the clock and I can't keep up. I don't know what to do. I'm a failure. And he said, relax, enjoy life. Life's too short to be stressed out. He said, you got to learn one little word. It's called no. You can't say yes to everything. You got to give time for yourself. And he said, and read this book. And he handed me a copy of How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie, which I still have the original copy here. It's battered and torn and ripped apart. But that book changed my life. And that man, George Collar, changed my life. So I submitted that story to Chicken Soup for the Soul. That was the story that I submitted. And it was due, like I said, May 15th. We had the Penn Writers Conference, May 13th through the 15th, conveniently right before that. So Friday night, Friday the 13th, or yeah, I guess that would have been, yeah, Friday the 13th, they had a critique session and they had an editor there. So I thought, my story's already written, ready to be submitted on Sunday. I'm going to show her this story. I'm so excited and so proud. And you know what? She was so mean. She ripped into my story. She said things I don't want to repeat about how terrible it was. And I panicked. Oh my gosh. I wanted to take my computer and smash it to smithereens. But luckily, I know the key to happiness. And I saved my computer. And I know that the event is not the outcome. It's my reaction to the event that is the outcome. So I decided to be a little more calm. And so I called Gail and said, Gail, what should I do? And she said, go for it. Don't change it. Because I thought I was going to spend the rest of the weekend changing it. Then I emailed Sharon, my editing partner, and she said, go for it. Don't change it. So I went for it and I submitted it exactly as it was, even though that woman totally ripped into it. And 3 months later, there it is. And really cool, when I got my copy of that book, when I first got the cover copy, if you glance real quick, it looks like the rabbit's ears are a peace sign. I thought that was kind of cool. But anyway, so don't let somebody discourage you. Learn, but don't let, and that's, you never know the impact of your story. And I told you the story, but there's one little nuance to that story, which I'll tell you just a little bit later. Just remember, 90% of the people are going to love your stuff and 10% aren't, for whatever reason. There are mean people out there. So I took some more steps and I submitted a few more stories to Chicken Soup for the Soul. Was blessed to have them put in Chicken Soup for the Soul. I have a couple stories in some writing anthologies, which, by the way, if you are a writer, I suggest you submit stories to Chicken Soup for the Soul in these writing anthologies. I started to submit to contests. I ended up winning some first and second places in some contests, and it was really good. And the cool thing about submitting into a contest is you get feedback on your writing, and it helps you depending on if it's a good person or a bad person. Some people are just mean and have a red pencil mentality. Then I met old Ramona. I mean, old Ramona she's young, but I mean old in the sense of an old friend. She started an online writing group where every morning I sign in at 7 o'clock and commit to writing for an hour, which I do, which has turned into my daily Facebook post. And today I submitted my 2,136th day in a row Facebook post. It's almost 6 years, actually. What I try to do, I get up, I try to feed my head with a little good and then share that good in the world, put the good out into the world I think it helps to get as much good out there as can. There's my Facebook page there. And then I just love connecting with the people, thinking about the people who write back and are kind enough to interact. And I just love everybody. I love the people that I get to interact with every day. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And right now I want to take a chance to say thank you to those of you who have taken the time to tune in. And I wish I could see you, because I would be so thrilled to see you in person. I know many of you, some of you, but this gives you a chance to see I'm a real person, and I might be a little goofier than you thought. But anyway, it's great. Thank you for being on here. Okay. So more, how can I improve? Some more steps. Watch for opportunities. There are opportunities everywhere if you keep your eyes open. A year and a half ago, one of the writing groups I belong to, the Greater Lehigh Valley Writers Group, sent out a call from a publisher. They wanted someone to write a book on the Steelers. That's the only thing it said in there. They wanted someone to write a book on the Steelers. And I thought, well, heck, man, I love the Steelers. I bleed black and gold. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I'm the oldest of 9. My parents loved the Steelers, my brothers and sisters. And I put all this in an email to this publisher. And I told him, I even have Facebook posts. And I sent him a copy of one of my Facebook posts after a game about the Steelers. They looked at my Facebook post. They hired me on the spot. And they said, which was a beautiful thing, that so like I said, I bleed black and gold. This is my brother Davo, who hasn't missed a home game in 36 years. And I put that in my note to them, and they liked that. So they hired me. And I signed a contract. Boy, if I had known, whew, I signed a contract on February 28th of 2019. And I had to have the book completed by April 15th, 2019. 6 or 7 weeks, which is way, way, way too short a time. I had no idea the amount of research it was going to take. I had to go and research every single game. Oh, actually, I found out I was privileged to write about James Conner. It wasn't just the Steelers. It was a biography of James Conner, who's an outstanding human being, an outstanding running back. So I had to go through every single game, all the stats. I had to watch the replays. I had to take that and write it into a book for me. And you don't know how many times you have to drive the ball down the field, run the ball down the field without sounding repetitive. But I had to research every statistic, how many yards he gained per carry, who tackled him. Oh my gosh, it was overwhelming. I basically put life on hold. Thank heavens during that 6 weeks, I'll just go back here. Thank heavens during that 6 weeks, I had spring break because I was teaching. I had to work this in with teaching, and I had a mindful writers retreat. So I had 2 weeks to focus. And then all of my time, other than teaching and my daily Facebook posts, were spent writing. And thank heavens for Gail, because she fed me. She made sure I stayed focused, which was really good. And I ended up getting it in on April 15th. I turned in so many words per week. I forget what it was, every Monday. And if I was a little late, the publisher was like, I'm panicking. Are you going to get it to me? And I did. And it was very much thanks to Gail. But again, I couldn't do anything in that time. I mean, I put life totally on hold. And James Conner, for those of you who don't know, this isn't him, but he got Hodgkin's lymphoma in college. He overcame Hodgkin's lymphoma. He was sick as a football player, and he couldn't figure out what was wrong. He went to the doctor, and they diagnosed him with Hodgkin's, which is a form of cancer. So he's such an amazing person that he would go to chemotherapy. Then after chemotherapy, put his mask on and go to practice with the rest of the team. Most people after chemotherapy, as you know, probably, they die. They go home and veg out. James Conner was doing stuff like this out there with a mask on, practicing. And I'll tell you what, a great thrill it is to hold this book in my hand, a book about a great guy and an accomplishment that was like nothing else. And it actually, look at that, it was the #1 new release on Amazon last year when it was released, and what an honor that was. Holy heavens. So what I'm working on now is my story about when I ran away from home when I was 15 years old and hitchhiked out to Ocean City and had quite an adventure out there. And it was amazing, like I said, to write about it. So those 9 things again: read, write, improve. And we have heard all our lives a fallacy. Practice makes perfect, but that isn't true. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You have to improve. I equated it to skiing. I was a skier. I still am a skier. But if you learn bad habits in skiing, you can practice all you want. It just instills those bad habits. You have to learn to be better. You might even think you're a good skier and you might be a terrible skier. You have to learn to be better. It's the same thing with writing. Again, those baby steps, reading, make time to write every day. If you can, just 5 minutes a day, no matter what. Never stop learning. There's all kind of online courses. There are all kind of online courses. Udemy is a great place for them. You can learn so much every day. Every morning I get up and I exercise for an hour before I write. And I'm watching Udemy videos or YouTube videos on how to be a better writer, how to be a better storyteller. It's great to, someday I'll get it there. Okay, and then another valuable tool is the emotion thesaurus. It helps you show, don't tell. And as writers, we hear this, show, don't tell, because the reader feels the emotions when you show instead of telling. Instead of saying, I'm tired, you want to say, I was so whooped, I could barely make it through the door. People feel that, I'm tired, it's just, that's telling. So the emotion thesaurus is a great resource for every writer. I don't leave home without it, man. I'd never go to a writing retreat without one. Find a good editor. Find someone who is willing to rip your stuff apart if it needs to be ripped apart. Again, this is where Gail comes in. Gail is a phenomenal editor. Again, I'll think I've written the next To Kill a Mockingbird. She kills it. She lets me know if it's good or bad. She lets me know good too, but make sure you have a good editor. But get an editor who doesn't have that red pencil mentality, who actually gives you constructive criticism and how to do things right. Fall in love with your delete key. Don't be afraid. If it stinks, delete it. Don't hang on to it. It's called kill your darlings. Don't be afraid to kill your darlings. Develop thick skin. The best thing you could do as a writer is develop thick skin. Take criticism. Remember, 90% of the people are going to like your stuff. 10% aren't. There are some great online editing tools that you can use to improve your writing. Just cut and paste your stuff before you post it. Pro Writing Aid is one that I love, my favorite actually. Grammarly is another. These are great resources. So the next steps that I would suggest you do are, first of all, please join me on Facebook every day and on Twitter if you would like, but I'm definitely more active on Facebook. I do Twitter, but please look me up on Facebook. I'd love to connect. If we're not friends, let's be friends. The next thing I would suggest is keep a diary. Keep something to write in everywhere you go and write. Even if you never look at it again, getting that stuff on paper is amazing. I've kept diaries on and off for years. Here's one from, I don't know, 5 years ago probably. Here's what I use today. It's a nice quality spiral notebook. I like the bigger pages and your hands don't. On this kind of a diary, my hand gets stuck bumping on the pages. But with this kind of a diary, you have these nice big pages. You can, like I said, it doesn't have to be a fancy diary. Make it a spiral notebook or whatever. Truly, writing is the art of discovering what you believe. You really know what you believe when you write it down. And support your local bookstore. We are blessed in Lewistown to have the Crooked Shelf Bookshop. I wanted to put a plug in for it. Look how cool that shop is. Nice hardwood floors. That actually used to be my old office. But it's so cool. They share the space now. with the Resource Conservation Development Account. But support, I haven't been in there because of the COVID, but these people are rocking it. Please support your local bookstore, support your local library. This is what this is all about, is writers and readers. We support each other, support the library, support the bookstore. Go to the Chicken Soup for the Soul and write a story for Chicken Soup for the Soul. These are the upcoming stories that are always listed. These are the upcoming stories and the dates that they're due. So if you can have a story, and check their website regularly, because the categories change all the time. Submit to anthologies. These are all juried. People look to make sure you have a good story. Remember, 80 to 90% want to write a book. You are writing a book. You're writers, you're writing a book. You have the ability to change lives. And if you don't have a book published yet or a story published, remember yet. Yet is a great word. I don't have something published yet. I don't have my novel completed yet. Yet is a wonderful, wonderful word. Your reward is your book or your story or your book, your story, your feeling of accomplishment. You change the world by being a writer. And the rest of the story, after I wrote that story, it was published in November of 2011. After I wrote that, I was in State College Christmas shopping in December. And I was with Gail, and I said, you know, I should look up George Collar. I haven't seen him in 30 years. The guy who the story was written about. I hadn't seen him in 30 years. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening. I looked up his address, found out where he lived. I went to his house. It was dark. It was December at 6 o'clock. Knocked on his door. He answered his door, and I don't think he's in his 80s, so I don't think he remembered me. But I reminded him, and he said, "Oh yeah." And I said, "You had such a major impact on my life. I wrote a story about you." He totally forgot about that incident. He made such an amazing impact on my life. He took that book. He was so happy to take the book. Then I left, and I wanted to find, I love hamburgers. We drove away, and I wanted to find a Red Robin. I didn't know where there was one. So I said, I'll turn around and ask George. So I went back a few minutes later. I answered the door. He had the book open. He was reading the story to his wife with tears coming down his eyes. So you never know the impact you're going to have. Always thank the people that have an impact on your life. It's a beautiful thing. What a great thing that was. Scatter sunshine wherever you go. Write, read, make the world a better place, and rock and roll. Thank you very much for putting up with me here and rocking the presentation and being out there somewhere. I love you all. You know that. Rock and roll, peace, love, and rock and roll. And I'll try to answer your questions. I don't see them, but Hillary and Sharon and Misty do, and I will take the time to answer those questions. Rock and roll. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sharon.
I have a question for you.
Okay, Sharon, thank you. Thank you.
You're known for saying rock and roll and flashing that peace sign and sometimes saying good, good, good. Tell us about all of that.
Okay. Well, good, good, good is just tripling the good out there. When I say good, 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 just as a habit. And boy, I've been flashing the peace sign since I was in junior high school, I'm sure. But there's never enough peace in the world. Flashing the peace sign is kind of my way of trying to spread as much peace and love out there in the world as I can. And rock and roll. I've been saying that since high school, I think. And I remember the very first time where I remember it really came to head. I was at the Kentucky Derby in 1975. And it was back when I was drinking and doing that stupid stuff that we do. And I was on the bus from the shuttle parking to the stadium where the races were Churchill Downs. And I kept yelling at the bus, rock and roll. And then all the people on the bus kept yelling rock and roll. So it kind of instilled that whole thing. And what rock and roll means really is not just the music. It means just rock life. It's a shortened, abbreviated form, rock life. Make life great. And it doesn't matter what kind of music you listen to, you can make whatever kind of music you listen to rock and roll. So thank you for asking that question. Good, good, good.
And I have another question too. You said that you were in the romance writers
Yes, of America.
of America.
Mhm.
And I was wondering, have you written romance?
That's a good question. Yeah, I actually I have a couple of romance novels in the works that I put on hold because I said I finally got to finish Success That Rocks, which is still kind of on the hold because I'm writing Running Away to Freedom. But I do have a book called The Angel of the Mountain, which I've been working on for quite a while. And I have another romance that I cannot remember the name right now, but so being a member of Romance Writers, there are so many good resources there. So thank you again for asking that question.
And I'd like to know, like, what are the chances that maybe our listeners or viewers might be able to get their work into one of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series?
Okay. Chicken Soup for the Soul, they accept about 3% of the stories that are submitted. So it's not easy to get a story in Chicken Soup for the Soul, but if you're a good, I mean, that's why you want to become a better writer so you can get stories. They have to accept somebody. They have to accept 3%. So I was blessed to be able to be one of those 3%. But keep on trying. Good, good, good.
So you said that you keep a diary, and
Yes.
you've kept a diary over the years. Have some of your story ideas come from the diaries?
Well, I'm not from looking back, but from writing, from taking them and putting them into the diary. Yes. And Sharon, and whoever else might be smiling out there. Since I've been writing my story about running away from home, it's amazing the things you remember. But I so many times wished, dang, I wish I had a diary, because there are so many. Some of it is so clear, and some of it is just unfortunately forgotten, and I have to put together what I think happened, but it may not exactly happen that way because I got from here to there. I specifically, when I ran away from home, I specifically remember the hitchhiking. Oh my gosh, that was so vivid. Some of the people I met, but then in between, and when I spent some time at the police station, that was pretty vivid too. So, but anyway, so thank you. Good.
And I had a question. Did you get to meet James Conner?
Unfortunately, no, I didn't get to meet him. I didn't realize when I signed the contract, I thought that's when I signed the contract, I thought this will be easy. I'll give James a call. I'll meet with him. I'll be able to find out all this stuff about him. Okay. Little did I know that that's not how biographies work. Very rarely. The publisher tried to get a hold of him. I tried to get a hold of him. But actually, I let the publisher for the most part because I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. But when you're dealing with a professional athlete or somebody like that, they have agents, and their agents are very particular about what they spend their time on. So that was another tough part about that. It reminds me is that I had to make absolutely positively sure everything was factual in there. So I had to really, really, really research, and it would have been so much easier to call James or say, hey, did this happen? How'd this happen? How'd that happen? But I did. When I finished the book, I signed a copy of it, sent it to him, thanked him, and he sent me a nice letter and a picture back. The Steeler sent me a nice letter, and James autographed a nice picture. So that was a beautiful thing. Thank you.
That is great, and it is a great book, Larry.
Oh, thank you.
So
Happy.
there are lots of lots of comments on Facebook. So I do hope you'll go when we close this out. I hope you'll go onto our Facebook page and talk to the people over who've left comments. But we do have a question from Laura. She says, "Could you make this presentation a workshop at the next Pen Writers Conference? Your positive energy is so uplifting."
Well, thank you. I would love to be able. Oh, thank you, Laura. Thank you. I would love to be able to do that at a Pen Writers Conference. I've spoken at workshops before, and I've done several presentations. I would love to. Thank you for the compliment. Yes, I'd love to. I have to. If I know anybody in the organization, I have to talk to the powers that be. So, thank you, Laura. I will do that. Good. I appreciate that.
And I know, Larry, that you've already told us about purchasing your books, but can you tell us once again where we can purchase your books?
Well, our local bookstore, but it's in Lewistown, and it might be a hike for people. It's at the Crooked Bookshelf. is a great place, but it's also available on Amazon. It's available at Barnes and Nobles. You can order it through Barnes and Nobles. So it's commercially available because it's through a publisher. So it's makes it, and of course the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, you can get those everywhere. But the thing about Chicken Soup for the Soul is they pay you one check. They give you one check and 10 copies of the book. So it could be a bazillion seller, and you never make any royalties. The nice thing about the James Conner book is there are royalties involved. So I mean, and they're not big because the publisher gets a huge, I didn't realize how little the royalties were, but it's nice they are royalties and I appreciate them, but they had to pay for the rights to all the cool pictures that they used in here. And there's so many things that go into publishing a book that, and they did a great job of editing. So anyway, so thank you.
Okay, and could you tell us about some libraries that you love?
The Mifflin County Library, my local library, is a great place. The people in there are helpful. I've never been in a library where the people aren't extremely helpful. Librarians are, as a general rule, phenomenal people. Our librarians bend over backwards to help you. They actually, that's where I did some of my research, was through various libraries. I called various libraries to find out more about James Conner, to find out about stuff in the paper. So libraries are just, you can't beat the library. All those free resources, it's amazing. And I'm also blessed because I teach at Penn State, so they have a really huge library there. And SCLO Library in State College is another really good library. I've actually went and saw this really phenomenal speaker there talking about how to be a better writer. She's sitting right there. Her name is Happiness Hillary. So, but anyway, libraries are great places. Good. Thank you, Sharon.
And do you have any special messages for our viewers?
Please enjoy life. Please spread peace and love and kindness everywhere you go. And I can't thank you enough for joining me tonight. And I can't thank you enough for being friends on Facebook. And someday when we can all get together again and hug, it would be great to have just a big celebration of life and spread all that love and good in the world. Thank you again. I love you all. Rock and roll. I don't know if that's the end, but I think it's probably the end, right? Rock and roll. Love you. I have some quotes if we haven't ended yet, but if
yes, go ahead. Give us a quote.
Okay, I always carry spare quotes. You know, you got to carry spare quotes. Gandhi, my life is my message, and your life is your message. So spread a great message. So rock and roll. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight and being part of our virtual Festival of Books. And we hope to see you next year in Ebensburg. Hopefully, we'll be able to have it.
Oh, great. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see you there in Ebensburg next year. And for those of you at home, we just have 3 author sessions left in this series. We've had so much fun. Every author has given us an interesting story, and we have 3 more interesting stories to go. Next week's featured author will be Tom Catalano.
I want to thank Larry again, and Hillary and Misty and all of you out there who have been participating in our virtual festival of books. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you. Rock and roll. Good night.
Rock and roll. Good night. Thank you.